Okay, rant time. It's rant time. It's been months. Oh, by the way, it's Sunday, July 23rd, 2017. I like to call this, we used to call them Tempest Tuesdays or What the Wednesdays. This I'm calling Sunday Sermon because I'm going to be preaching today. I'm going to preach. I'll take you to church. So, I've kind of stayed out of the whole workshop controversy over the last year or so. In April of 2016, the Hollywood Reporter kind of blew the lid off the whole thing with their article that basically laid bare the whole scheme in Los Angeles. Casting directors taking money from actors to watch them do scenes with little or no feedback or education. I mean, most of the time that's all they were, paid auditions. That's why they called it paid to play. Casting directors know why they're being paid. Actors know why they're paying. It's always been sort of a secret within the industry, but now everybody knows about it. In fact, a casting director for a big nighttime crime show left his job at CBS and closed down. He had a big workshop company that shut down, reopened under another name, and the CSA came up with a workshop committee to help address the issue because they realized and recognized there was a problem within their own membership. And by the way, I'm going to try not to mention any names here. Dee Weiss, my casting partner, had her membership in the Casting Society of America revoked because she mentioned casting directors' names in what the CSA considered a derogatory manner, in conduct that was unprofessional and unethical. They said one of the parts of their bylaws. So I'm not going to mention anybody's names because what I don't want to do is I don't want to get kicked out of the CSA. I've been a member for the last 25 years, since 1992. Happy to be a member. I love being a member, and I long for the day that the casting community will be recognized for the hard work they do in the biggest way possible, and that's by getting an Oscar. I'll never get one, but Francine Maisler and Deborah Zane and Lorraine Mayfield. Those are the people. Avi Kaufman, the amazing casting directors who do such great work. Lynn Stallmaster, who has been working for the last 60 years, who can be ignored for a regular Academy Award, get an honorary Academy Award, which she deserves, but in the main titles of every movie, we're the only profession in the main titles that's not considered for an Academy Award, and that's ridiculous. Editors, directors, producers, writers, costume designers, sound, music, composers, all considered for an Academy Award. Casting directors, nope. So we don't need more rocks in our road. So whenever I talk about this issue, it's because of that goal that I have in mind and that I've had ever since I became a casting director in the mid-'80s. So I've tried to stay out of the whole thing. I've removed myself because it's taken on a life of its own with the media and with law enforcement, and there's 18 people that have been charged for a crime violation of State Labor Code 1701, charging for an audition or an employment opportunity. When the article came out in the Hollywood Reporter a year ago, in April of last year, about the charges that were filed against these 18 people, the CSA, via its president at the time, he issued a statement, a really powerful statement, in support of the city attorney's work, in support of the Screen Actors Guild and SAG-AFTRA and the acting community in Los Angeles. That was a really powerful statement that really made me believe that the CSA might be taking a closer look at the way their members are behaving. We started a workshop committee, the workshop committee to address the issues that were happening within our own community, and that hopefully we were working toward a solution to get rid of the problems intrinsic to the casting director workshops. This is not about teaching. This is not about education. This is not about casting directors who are teachers and trained actors. This is about one night, single session workshops where a casting director sits across from another person in the room and watches them do a scene and says, "Thank you very much," and gives them a little 5-point checklist and maybe some incidental feedback, maybe not. They get their $350, $400. Casting director, the actor coughs up their, $40 or $50, and that's the transaction. That's what these people were charged with a crime for. They weren't charged with anything regarding teaching. And for anybody, any casting director to contend that is an insult to not only casting directors who teach, but teachers everywhere. So throw that concept out the window. They're not education, and what they were charged for was not teaching. However, about a month after the CSA issued that statement, that very strong and profound statement about support for the city attorney, one member of the CSA, and again, I won't mention his name, but he started a fundraiser, Casting Community Defense Fund, to raise money. $46,500 is what was the target goal, to raise money to defend the 18 casting directors that were charged. Keep in mind, this is before there was one shred of evidence presented, before there was any discovery from either the prosecution or the defense. And the fundraiser was misleading and mischaracterized the charges, talking about how we were being vilified for teaching, that it was a witch hunt against casting directors who taught. This had nothing to do. It wasn't about good teaching or bad teaching or bad curriculum. It was about not teaching. It was about charging actors for a job interview. 1701, State Labor Code, very simple. It was all written in black and white. So disingenuous and dishonest to even start this sort of misdirected and misguided fundraiser. However, once that fundraiser was started, an official letter from the Casting Society of America, a month after they'd written the statement, the president had written the statement in the Hollywood Reporter, sent out an email. The CSA sent out an email on its official letterhead with the subject line, "Important message from the National Board." And this email directed our over 600 members to the fundraiser via a link in the email to that very same fundraiser. And ironically, the very first person to donate $100 to the fundraiser was the president of the CSA, who had written that statement a little over a month before. And after that, many of the board of directors hopped on. The current president, who replaced that president, and the vice president, I believe vice president, and the many people on the board of directors, including members of the workshop committee that was formed to help deal with the problem that existed in the workshops, donated to this fundraiser. Thousands and thousands of dollars coming, and over 60 members of the CSA donated thousands of dollars to the fundraiser. So the hypocrisy there is incredible. Then, recently, because they're desperate now, because the 18 people that have been charged with a crime are scrambling for money. They don't have enough money to pay for their attorneys because if they go to trial, it looks like they're going to go to trial. We all know how expensive those kinds of endeavors can be. I've been in a legal trial, and I have had to spend for a legal trial, and it can be anywhere between $15,000 and $30,000, $40,000 if it goes to trial, especially when there's, the attorneys continue to come to court for pretrial hearings, when they are emailing or making phone calls or texting or faxing. These are all expenses, and they're all the lawyers are paid by the hour. Expenses that can add up. So this fundraiser is not only misguided, but it's probably not going to be very functional, because it's going to be literally 1/10, maybe less than 1/10 of the amount of money that they need to fund all these people if they go to trial. So what the administrator of this fundraiser did was, I don't know if he lied purposefully or he just didn't understand the law, but he continued to insist that the city attorney was delaying the trials in order to cost the defendants more money, in order to force them to make a plea. That was wrong. That's not what happened. And in fact, all the delays, every delay and every continuance came from the defense and not from the prosecution, not from the city attorney. So he lied or misrepresented the facts in order to raise money. I think they actually got a couple $100 when they made that statement, to help defend these casting directors and assistants who were charged with a crime. That's despicable, and it's probably illegal to lie to raise money for a fundraiser to defend somebody who's charged with a crime. But even with all this having been said, here's what makes me most angry. What makes me most angry is the fact that my colleagues, except for a handful, there are 5 or 6 or 8 or 10 out of the 1,000 or so casting directors in Los Angeles, that understand the critical nature of ignoring the elephant in the room. By ignoring the fact, by obfuscating the facts, by pretending that this is teaching, by pretending that there's not a problem, by pretending that that this is education, and that casting directors are entitled to spend their free time making money from the same people that they can hire, it's just pushing us further and further away from that Academy Award. It's pushing us. We don't need more rocks in the road. We don't need to build a wall, especially build it personally, laying the bricks ourselves in order to keep ourselves from finding the success that we can. When those casting directors that have worked so hard for so many decades to be recognized by the Academy and by the industry overall are having that part of their potential legacy ripped from them by a handful of criminals, potential criminals, and for us not to recognize it and instead circle the wagons to protect those handful of potential criminals is just, it's disgusting, and it's wrong. So this is my call, and I wrote a long letter to the CSA, and I put it up on my notes on my Facebook page. It wasn't as angry as I am now, but I tend to get angry when the camera rolls. If only we would sit down and take a critical look at the workshop scenario and how it's affecting our reputation, our professional and ethical standing in this business, we'd be much better off. And I'm not sure that that's going to happen. I hope that instead of ignoring the problem, that they embrace this whole legal, circus as an opportunity to learn and to grow and to make some changes that will positively affect the casting community in Los Angeles and across the nation. Anyway, that's my rant. I'm done. You need me, castboy at castboy.com. I'm always here for you. Call me if you need me, or email me if you need me. Remember, I love you, I care about you, and I hope I see you soon. Okay, bye.